today on the Frontline Health podcast.
If you know that you can't eat the whole elephant in one time, find the baby steps. And some of the baby steps I would recommend is if you work in an office, if you go shopping, if you're out and about, take the stairs instead of the elevator. Take the stairs instead of the escalator. Those little things, you're adding steps to your day, you're burning calories, and you're getting things. If you travel and you're in an airport, instead of taking the tram, walk to your gate. And one of my hidden things is sick people don't take stairs and sick people don't walk. So you'll also be getting less germs, especially this time of the year when cough, cold, and flu and everything else seems to be going around. Do simple things like, hey, if you're having a meal when you go out to eat, instead of those side fries, get a side salad. If you just want to make one little tweak, one little change, do that.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Frontline Health podcast by Centurion, where we help you take ownership of your health and your life. Today we're going to be discussing a topic that is very, very popular for this time of year as people begin to think about their hopes and dreams for the new year and what they hope to accomplish and do differently. And we know that a lot of people set New Year's resolutions. I'm here with founder and CEO of Centurion, Troy Duell, and he's here to give us his insights on that.
Excited to be here. Look forward to talking through some of these New Year's resolutions, like maybe learn how to talk.
So one thing that I think is very indicative of where we're at as a culture when it comes to our health is that so many of people's New Year's resolutions have to do with health. Of course, people make New Year's resolutions about a wide variety of different areas of life, but I found some research here that says that one of the main things that people prioritize when they are thinking about their New Year's resolutions and what they want to change about themselves for the new year is actually their health.
Which makes sense. I mean, we all want to be as healthy as we possibly can, and I think the new year is just a time for us to reflect. We've just eaten a whole bunch during Christmas, and it's a time to start over and see what we can do. So yeah, it seems pretty natural.
So let's share some of these statistics that we found in our research. This is actually coming from a study that the Pew Research Center did in 2024. So this is recent data. This is I think can give us a pretty good pulse on where Americans are at with New Year's resolutions and specifically health-related New Year's resolutions. 3 in 10 Americans reported making at least one New Year's resolution in 2024. Does that surprise you? Does that sound high? Does that sound low?
Honestly, it sounds kind of low to me. I would think that there were more New Year's resolutions. What doesn't surprise me is that by the end of January, we've all forgotten the New Year's resolutions or moved on. But the idea that just 3 in 10 make them is really kind of surprising. I really thought it'd be higher. What about you?
I did too. I thought that it would be higher than this. But I think the people that are talking the most, or maybe the most vocal about New Year's resolutions, the group that makes the most New Year's resolutions might give us a little bit more insight into that. So we found that young adults are the most likely to make a resolution. So again, young adults, they're more likely to post on social media, maybe a little more likely to share those resolutions and be vocal about that with other people. So I thought that was also interesting.
That is interesting because you think from a traditional standpoint, and you wouldn't think that the younger generation would hold on to that tradition. You'd think that it'd be the older generation that holds on to the tradition, but it may be that the older generation used to do it and they used to break them all the time. So they're like, why are we even doing this anymore?
Yeah. Well, and also I got to thinking about how we think about our health generationally. I don't have any data to necessarily prove this other than maybe some of this points us in this direction, but it seems like younger generations are starting to maybe take a little bit more interest in their health and trying to be proactive about their health instead of waiting until they experience health issues as they age to address things. That's just kind of my opinion. Do you agree or disagree?
I think there's probably some truth to that, and part of it I think is because growing up for me, we didn't have fast food on every corner when I was growing up. It is a relatively new thing. You didn't have as many processed foods. I still remember when I was in middle school or high school. I can't remember which one it was. But for the first time, we had packaged chocolate chip cookies that were soft, that were chewy. And we were super excited about that. But little did we know they were loading it full of stuff that isn't real good for us.
Yeah. Yeah. So to get real specific about health-related New Year's resolutions, 79% of New Year's resolutions actually concern health. So the vast majority of these New Year's resolutions have to do with health. My question for you, Troy, I know you've shared some with me about this before, but are you making a resolution for 2025?
I think the biggest resolution that I make when it comes to health is just always trying to look and say, is there one area I could change, either adding something to my exercise regimen or taking something away from my diet or adding to my diet. And those are really the two areas that I always try to go to. I haven't set one for 2025 yet, but I'm hoping to get that and think through it.
So that's really good, because most people are trying to start an exercise routine or to start a healthy diet, but you've already kind of got those habits and routines in place. So for you, it's just a matter of tinkering with it and trying to be as intentional as possible with what exactly you do.
What about yourself?
I have made New Year's resolutions before. A lot of mine have had to do with my health. Some also, faith related as well. But I'll share a little bit about this later. Not necessarily this past year, recent, because I don't necessarily do like the beginning of a new year, make a new resolution always. Sometimes I have done that, but I try to reevaluate kind of periodically, and not necessarily wait for a new year to kind of like make changes. I kind of, if I see a change that needs to be made and I want to try something new, I kind of will just do that without waiting for the new year.
Which is the sign of somebody who's always evaluating their health and evaluating what you're doing. And I think that's the best way to do it. But the new year is a great time, if you haven't had one yet, to go ahead and start. So, yeah, that's great.
So I'm wondering, what does this tell us about Americans' attitudes towards health? We've already kind of touched on this a little bit, or talked around it maybe. If 80% of our New Year's resolutions have to do with health, do you think, and we know we have a variety of health issues as a country, what does this tell us about our health and about, I guess, sort of like our expectations versus our reality?
Yeah, I think, again, it goes back to all of us want to have good health. No matter where we are, we want to have better health than what we do. And I think it's in a lot of ways, it's a great sign and a good indicator that we still have this desire to be healthy. But I think our education system, our medical community, for the most part, has really failed us on teaching us and educating us on what we need to do to take ownership of our health. So, but the fact that you have 80% of people wanting to make a New Year's resolution about their health means that there is truly a hunger to know and to try to do the right things, but most of us don't know what we're supposed to do, or, what's the next step.
Yeah.
So I think it should be encouraging. What do you think when you've got 80% of people doing that? Is there something that comes to mind?
I think there are a lot of people who they want to improve their health and they want to establish new routines. I know for a lot of people it's probably aesthetic. They want to lose weight. They want to build muscle. They want to look better. And to a certain degree, I think everybody wants to feel better as well. But I think I'm trying to remember the saying, a wish without a plan, or a dream. Maybe it's a goal without a plan is just a dream, or something along those lines. I think that's where a lot of people find themselves. I think they have these big goals, and a lot of times people set goals that are maybe too big or too audacious. And I think people would be better served if they started small. And one of the things that I was going to kind of share is, I think I have experienced more success in sticking to health-related goals when my resolution or my goal has sort of been a plan. When I haven't necessarily had in mind, I want to be able to bench press 300 pounds, which I can't do, by the way, in case you can't tell. But if it has been something more along the lines of, I want to go to the gym 2 to 3 times a week over this period of time, I've been more successful. And the reason that I think that is because you make a choice every single day, like if you are going to do that or not. And it's very plain to you, okay, I set this goal to go to the gym 3 days a week. And if I don't go to the gym 3 days a week, I have already failed at that goal. Whereas if you set a goal like, I want to bench press 300 pounds, one, there's no time frame. But two, you maybe are thinking that it's easier to get to that end result than it actually is. And so I think having sort of a process-oriented goal, in my experience, is probably the better way to go than just having this big, hairy, audacious thing without a plan.
I totally agree. I think the biggest thing that we can do is find a goal and then find some kind of plan or some accountability metric or something that makes it easy for you to step through that and to achieve it. Because so many times we make goals that are huge that we just can't get there, or we can't see the end point of how we get there.
You had high expectations for your future health, for your future self, not for your current self.
So how do we instead just say, all right, today it's just 1%. It's not getting me all the way to the end, but I just want to get a little bit better today or the next 3 weeks. And then you add something onto it after that. Yeah.
Absolutely. So a couple of other things that were found in this study by the Pew Research Center. Roughly 70% of Americans did not make a resolution. So I'm thinking about the people who decided that they, just didn't want to make a goal at all for the new year. Maybe some of them fall into the category of what we've already talked about, where, I don't necessarily feel that it's always necessary for me to implement a new goal at the beginning of a new year, because I may have already been evaluating different things and making adjustments and setting new goals periodically throughout a year. However, I suspect that maybe for some people, they don't want to make a New Year's resolution because maybe it's fear of failure. Maybe they fear they won't be able to keep them, because we hear all the time. I mean, kind of like you mentioned at the beginning of this episode, that that by the end of January, most of these New Year's resolutions will not have been kept. So I think a lot of people probably just don't think they're going to be able to keep them, and so they don't make that new goal or that new resolution.
I think there's a lot of truth to that. I think there's probably a lot of defeatism that feeds into that. So people who in years past maybe made a New Year's resolution no longer do, because they're like, why did I even think about making one? Because it never worked before. Why should I start now? So unfortunately, I think there is a lot of that. And when you've got 70% of people not making one at all, that tells you that a lot of people just don't find a lot of value in it. And it may be because, to your point earlier, they made such a big goal and a big idea that they couldn't ever find the baby steps to get them to that big idea.
So is it worth it to make a health-related New Year's resolution or not?
Absolutely. I think it's worth it to make a resolution. And when you think about resolution, that means to be resolute, to be steadfast, to really not change and want to go after something. But a New Year's wish, which is I think what most of us do, we go out and we say, this is what I want, but I don't necessarily put the work in to get it. And I think that's the major difference between most New Year's resolutions that stick, because they have a plan, like you said, and it's not too big. They just start working towards that.
So do you have any tips for people out there who are wanting to make a fitness-related or health-related New Year's resolution? Any tips for them in making that plan, or how to be successful in kind of carrying that out and improving their health?
I think it's always good to keep in mind the way you eat an elephant, one bite at a time, right?
There you go.
So you can't eat the whole thing in one sitting.
Is this a new fad diet?
It's a new fad diet. That's right. It's part of the paleo. But the exciting thing about that is, if you know that you can't eat the whole elephant in one time, find the baby steps. And some of the baby steps I would recommend is, if you work in an office, if you go shopping, if you're out and about, take the stairs instead of the elevator. Take the stairs instead of the escalator. those little things, you're adding steps to your day, you're burning calories, and you're getting things. If you travel and you're in an airport, instead of taking the tram, if you have time, don't miss the airplane. But if you have time, walk to your gate underneath. If you go to Atlanta, they've got those long corridors with the trains, but you can walk from gate to gate. So if you have time, go ahead and walk instead of taking the train. And one of my hidden things is sick people don't take stairs and sick people don't walk. So you'll also be getting less germs, especially this time of the year when cough, cold, and flu and everything else seems to be going around. Outside of just the walking piece, do simple things like, hey, if you're having a meal when you go out to eat, instead of those side fries, get a side salad. And just
can do that? You can substitute salad for fries?
You can. It's crazy. I know. And a lot of us don't like the idea of doing that. But if you just want to make one little tweak, one little change, do that. And then I always say, instead of getting a soda, get a water, because A, it's healthier. B, you save a little bit of money with the way prices are these days. So it's a double win.
I used to be in the camp of people who believed that nobody actually liked carbonated water, and that was just everyone who said they liked it was lying.
Yeah.
But then I gave it a try
too,
because I don't drink a lot of sodas. But when I was looking for kind of a way to, I had gotten kind of back into sodas a little bit and was looking for a way to kind of treat myself and get off of it. And I started drinking these flavored carbonated waters, and it was an acquired taste at first.
Yeah.
But now I love them.
It does. It takes a little bit of time. I remember making fun of my wife when she was drinking them, and I was like, oh, those things are so disgusting. Why would you ever do that? And now I actually enjoy them. So it's a great way to change your diet just a little bit and make some things happen. What about you? You got some good ones?
Yeah, so I have a quote that I want to share that I think has been really big for me anytime I've been trying to really achieve any kind of goal.
Okay.
And it's from the book Atomic Habits, very popular book by James Clear. Make it easy to do right and hard to do wrong. So some of the things that he recommends in that book is one of the examples I think is if you spend too much time watching television, put the remote in a place that it's hard to get, where it's just simply inconvenient.
That's good.
Because what that does is it causes you to pause before you just passively do something that you're in a bad habit of doing, which is just sitting in front of the TV. The remote's right there on the couch. You turn it on, and then you're there for hours longer than you probably intended.
Yep.
So making it hard to do the wrong things and making it easy to do the right things. So an example that he gives, which sounded bizarre to me when I was first reading this, but now makes a lot of sense to me and helps me ease back into good habits when I kind of fall out of them, is one of the examples was, if you have never exercised or worked out before and you want to start, he talked about one person who just put their walking shoes on in the morning. They didn't they were recommended at first. That's a good idea. Don't even go outside and go for a walk. Your goal is just to put on your walking shoes. And then as they started to do that, the thought is, I've already got my walking shoes on. I might as well go outside and walk for 5 minutes.
That's good.
And they went outside and walked for 5 minutes. And it's like, if I'm going to walk for 5, I might as well walk for 10 and 15. And the point is, while putting on your walking shoes in the morning in and of itself is not going to do anything for your health, it is going to prep your mind for getting in a routine of a habit that's going to make a big difference over time.
Which is huge, because it's those little things like we talked about that make all the difference in the world. And I'd add to that, make sure that what you have in your cabinets, in your refrigerator, so when you open it up, that it's healthy alternatives instead of something that's processed and can be bad for you. And the other thing you can do to help is when you go to a grocery store, if you stay on the outside of the grocery store, every grocery store, you stay on the outside, and that's where all the good food is. So you've got all the fruits and vegetables on the outside, you've got all the meats, you've got the dairy, you've got the eggs. So those are things that we know we need and we need more of, and they're not the processed foods. All the processed foods are between the fruits and vegetables and the bread and dairy on the outside. So make it a habit of just shopping the outside and not going to the inside.
That's good. Then another big thing I wanted to share is the idea of accountability, and you brought it up earlier. But there's actually a Bible verse, Proverbs 27:17. It says, "As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another." So that's true in a spiritual context. It's also true when it comes to our health, or really anything where we need other people to come alongside us and help us follow through on the things that we know are good for us, but that when we're alone and making a decision and doing something that might be uncomfortable for us, our natural tendency is to stay away from it or avoid it. So,
that's right. If you have a tough time going to a gym, but you know that one of your best friends is there at the gym waiting on you, it's a little bit easier to get out of bed and go,
Yes, it
because
is.
you're not going to let somebody down by going. So,
especially when it's early
great
in the morning.
example. Yeah, that is very true. Very true. Don't want to let anybody down.
That's right. Any other comments on New Year's resolutions before we end the episode?
I can't think of anything. Just on your New Year's resolution, make sure that it's achievable, that you're not wishing for the stars, but whatever you do, make sure it's small enough that you're going to do it, and get after it.
All right. Thank you for listening to this episode of the podcast. Until next time.